Okay. I'm feeling very compelled to make this video right now. I go by vibology a lot of the time, and the vibes are just, the stars are aligning for me to talk about this. That's how I felt about the Drake and Kendrick video. I just kind of like woke up like a zombie out of my sleep and was like, you need to record, babe. So we're recording. Hi, my name is Madison, the creator behind the Madison channel. I have a podcast called Bloodstain where I talk about history through the lens of true crime, and season 1 is all about slavery. If you're interested, link in the bio for all of those things. But this is my YouTube channel, one of many social medias that you can follow through the link in the bio. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram. Get to know me, I don't post on Instagram as much as I should, but, TikTok I do. I also have a Substack. Yes. So if you want to hear from me once a week through a newsletter, if you want to be abreast of what's going on my mind, it's a more intimate community over there, I would say. Check out my Substack. The link is also in the bio. You can subscribe to that. And also, there's a paid tier on my Substack, $5 a month. $50 for the year, and I am doing currently reactions to slave movies to kind of go in tandem with the first season of Bloodstain. So if that's interesting to you, link in the bio for all of those things. Anyway, let's get to the thesis. Okay. So, like I said, I'm feeling compelled to talk about this. I'm feeling angsty. As you can see, I'm wearing red. I'm on my period, so of course I'm wearing red, and I'm feeling that energy, that extra intense energy that I felt like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Nicki. Let's talk about Cardi. Let's talk about their beef. Let's really get into some things. I was requested by one of my mutuals on TikTok. Also, I'll tag their YouTube channel in the description as well. They requested this video, and it's also something I've been talking to myself about, to a wall or in my car for years. So it's time to make my opinions known to the world. Who do I support? Nicki, Cardi? Am I a Barb? Am I Bardi gang? What's the truth? What's the lie? Let's get into it. Okay. So I think the first thing I want to do, again, this is going to be crunchy, like I told you with the last video. So stop being surprised. This is just, it is what it is. We're working with what we got, mama. So I'm going to be in this corner mostly, and we're just kind of vibe it out like we did last time. I think the first place to start is this. The entertainment industry has a vested interest in pitting women against each other. And that's not just something I'm saying to be annoying, but it's just true. There's money in that game. There's money when you make sure women are always insecure. So they're always trying to look younger. They're always trying to be skinnier. They're always trying to be more attractive, more desirable to the male gaze. And that's why there's all of these products for us to be younger, hotter, skinnier, tanner, whatever. There's whole industries and economies based on us. And so I feel like this rap beef is indicative of the fact that all of this industry stuff is the mouthpiece for the economy. You know what I mean? I feel like at the end of the day, when women beef and women compete with each other, it makes a lot of people money. So they just generally have a vested interest in making sure that this is a reality. So I want to start off with talking about one of the most iconic feuds that has ever happened, okay? We're going to talk about Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. Now, I am a media goblin. I say this all the time. I love drag race stuff. And if you love drag race, if you've been watching for as long as I have, I've watched since the first season, you get exposed to different aspects of pop culture, different sayings, different people. And these two are iconic people in pop culture. And if you don't know the Drag Race rendition of, I think it was like Christmas Shoes or something with Alyssa Edwards, and maybe, I'm trying to think who else was in it. Anyway, you know how RuPaul's Drag Race is, and they like had a skit and they were like referencing this dynamic. And that's how I got introduced to Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, those vibes, and like old Hollywood shit. Well, not generally old Hollywood shit, but you know what I mean, like this particular feud. Now, some of my hyperfixations are old Hollywood shit. There used to be this show that you can find on YouTube called like Old Hollywood Stories. It was like a true crime show, and they talked about all these like creepy Hollywood stories. I love that stuff. I love old movies. We love that in this household. But Drag Race exposed me to this dynamic in this beef. Now, let's talk about Bette. Okay, we'll start with Joan. So Joan Crawford was an iconic American actress. This is what she looked like. If you've ever heard "no more wire hangers" or like seen that visual, that's the movie. I feel like her name's Faye Dunaway, played her in a movie based on a book that her actual adopted daughter wrote that was called Mommy Dearest, where she exposed how awful her mom was behind the scenes and how she was like only into like the image of having a family and all this stuff. It's like a whole big thing. She wrote this book, this little girl, this little blonde girl in this picture, and exposed her mom after her mom died. And they turned her life story into a movie called Mommy Dearest. And that's like a quote from that movie. But they quote that all the time in Drag Race. It's very camp. The gays love it. That's all I got to say. Joan Crawford is truly like a gay icon. As you can see, very beautiful. You know, that like golden age of like the studios. Now, mind you, this is the age of the studios. Let me remind you, these are the same studios that basically were starving, what's her name? Judy Garland, and forcing her to eat cigarettes. Forcing her to smoke like a pack a day, drink black coffee, and like be skinny. They told her she was super ugly. She was addicted to amphetamines because of the studios. The studio system in old Hollywood was like insane. They worked their people to death. They were very cutthroat. If you were old, you were out. Who's the new hot thing? It was giving that, like plucking people from true obscurity and like making them like icons, literal icons. Like, and that's why people rush to LA. Sorry, a little bit of a side rant. People say LA has dark energy, but people rush here because of this era where people were literally nobodies from Dust Bucket, Indiana, or whatever. And they would come here, dye their hair blonde, and be like Marilyn Monroe. Like, that's not her story, but it is her story. You know what I mean? And Joan Crawford was one of these people. So she was like building Hollywood. Like, so first, just in general, if you don't know, there was like vaudeville, which was like a really popular like traveling show that would happen in like theaters. And that was like early in the 1900s. And that was like entertainment. And vaudeville went to screen through the silent era, like silent film. So you have, what's his name, who'd made Metropolis? Charlie Chaplin, like people like that who were really big in the silent era, and they were like original like foundation builders of Hollywood. You know what I mean? They were like building the bricks of Hollywood, and then silent movies turned into actual sound movies, and so there's a whole new slate of people. Like some people from the silent era didn't translate, blah 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 blah, and so essentially Joan Crawford is one of those people of this era in Hollywood where there's like maybe like, I don't know how many big studios. There's like a few big studios owned by very wealthy men, and they like controlled all of LA and like who became famous, who became a star. There was like a formula to it, but they were very abusive. Like if you were ugly, if you needed to like dye your hair and change your whole like name, like they changed people's whole entire lives, made them completely different people, like polished them up. If you were fat, you were taking meth. If you were like, Judy Garland's diet was insane. She like was on pills speed during the day, so she was up, and then she took sleeping pills at night, so she was like hopelessly addicted by the time she was like 13. Anyway, I'm ranting, but this is the era. This is important to note, because if you had the new hot girl, especially the hot girl, because Judy Garland was the girl because she was talented, but she wasn't considered hot. If you had the new hot woman, if you had the new hot, beautiful bombshell woman actress, you were raking in the money, and she was working overtime, boo. Like, it was really crazy. Joan Crawford, let's do a little blurb about her first. Okay, so Joan Crawford, born Lucille Fay LeSueur, March 23rd, Oh yeah, this is the thing with Joan. Nobody knows when she was born. Weird, but anyway, born 1900 question mark, Joe. And died May 10th, 1977, was an American actress. She started her career as a dancer in traveling theatrical companies, debuting on Broadway. Crawford was signed to motion picture contract by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, in 1925. Ooh, ciao. My grandpa was too. Initially frustrated by the size and quality of her parts, Crawford launched a publicity campaign and built an image as a national known flapper by the end of the 1920s. By the 1930s, Crawford's name rivaled MGM colleagues Norma Shearer and Greta Garbo. These were big names. Crawford often played hardworking young women who find romance and financial success. These rags to riches stories were well received during Depression era audiences and were popular with women. Crawford became one of Hollywood's most prominent movie stars and one of the highest paid women in the United States, but her films began losing money. By the end of the 1930s, she was labeled box office poison. See how quickly they shuck you out? Like, she got in the 1925, and like, you know, it's crazy. After an absence of nearly 2 years from the screen, Crawford staged a comeback by starring in Mildred Pierce. I still need to see that movie. I really want to watch it. 1945, for which she won the Academy Award for Best Actress. In 1955, she became involved with the Pepsi-Cola Company through her marriage to company president Alfred Steele. After his death in 1959, Crawford was elected to fill his vacancy on the board of directors, but was forcibly retired in 1973. She continued acting in film and television regularly through the 1960s, when her performances became fewer. After the release of the horror film Trog in 1970, Crawford retired from the screen. She withdrew from public life and became increasingly reclusive until her death in 1977. Crawford married 4 times. These girls, these Hollywood girls, they were the original sprinkle Jow. Crawford married 4 times. Her first 3 marriages ended in divorce. The last ended with the death of a husband, Al Steele. She adopted 5 children, one of whom was reclaimed by his birth mother. Ooh, okay. Crawford's relationships with her 2 older children, Christina and Christopher, were acrimonious. Crawford disinherited the 2, and after Crawford's death, Christina published the tell-all memoir, Mommy Dearest. Okay, so that's a little rundown on Joan. Let's do a quick rundown on Bette Davis. Like I said again, these women are foundational to Hollywood. These women, like, get to know your elders, get to know your past. And the movies from back in the day, my sister would say Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. I would also say Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Psycho, The Birds. All these movies are incredible movies. They hold up throughout the test of time. And while you're at it, watch the entire original Twilight Zone. But anyway, okay. So this is Bette Davis, okay? This is Bette Davis. She's a queen, also an actress. Okay. Let's read her situation. Ruth Elizabeth Bette Davis, born April 5th, 1909, and died October 6th, 1989, was an American actress of film, television, and theater. Regarded as one of the greatest actresses in Hollywood history, she was noted for her willingness to play unsympathetic, sardonic characters, and was known for her performances in a range of film genres, from contemporary crime melodramas to historical and period films and occasional comedies, although her greatest successes were her roles in romantic dramas. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress twice, was the first person to accrue 10 Academy Award nominations for acting, and was the first woman to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. In 1999, Davis was placed second on the American Film Institute's list of the greatest female stars of classic Hollywood cinema. After appearing in Broadway plays, Davis moved to Hollywood in 1930, but her early films for Universal Studios were unsuccessful. She joined Warner Bros. In 1932 and had her critical breakthrough playing a vulgar waitress of human bondage in 1934. Contentiously, she was not among the 3 nominees for the Academy Award for Best Actress of that year, and she won it the following year for her performance in Dangerous, 1935. In 1936, due to poor film offers, she attempted to free herself from her contract, and although she lost a well-publicized legal case, it marked the beginning of the most successful period of her career. Until the late 1940s, she was one of America's cinema's most celebrated leading ladies. She was praised for her role in Market Woman and won a second Academy Award for her portrayal of a strong-willed 1850s Southern belle in Jezebel. The first 5 consecutive years in which she received a Best Actress nomination, the others for Dark Victory, 1939, The Letter, 1940, The Little Foxes, 1941, and now Voyager, 1942. Ooh, she was really lighting it up. A period of decline in the late 1940s was redeemed with her role as a fading Broadway star in All About Eve, 1950, which has often been cited as her best performance. She received Best Actress nominations for this film and for The Star, 1952, but her career struggled over the rest of the decade. Her last nomination came from her role as a psychotic former child star Jane Hudson in the psychological horror film Whatever Happened to Baby Jane in 1962. In the latter stage of her career, Davis played character parts in films like Death on the Nile, 1978, and shifted her focus to roles in television. She led the miniseries The Dark Secret of Harvest Home in 1978, won an Emmy Award for Strangers, The Story of the Mother and Daughter, 1979, was nominated for her performance in White Mama, 1980, and Little Gloria at Happy at Last, 1982, and her last complete cinematic part was in the drama The Whales of August, 1987. Davis was known for her forceful and intense style of acting and her physical transformations. She gained a reputation as a perfectionist who could be highly combative, and confrontations with studio executives, film directors, and co-stars were often reported. Her forthright manner, clipped vocal style, and ubiquitous cigarette contributed to a public persona which has often been imitated. David was the founder of the Hollywood Canteen and was the first female president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Her career went through several periods of eclipse, and she admitted that her success had often been at the expense of her personal relationships. Married 4 times, she was once widowed and 3 times divorced and raised her children as a single parent. Her final years were marred by a long period of ill health, but she continued acting until shortly before her death from breast cancer, with more than 100 films, television, and theater roles to her credit. Wow, why was hers way longer than Joan's? Okay, shady. Okay, so this is a little background on these people. Let's talk about Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, though, okay? Because that movie's crazy. Let's talk about it. So just to let you know, Bette Davis and Joan Crawford had a long-standing beef. They've been beefed out for years. Some people say it started with a man. Basically what I deduce is that there were a couple men that Bette Davis was interested in that Joan Crawford was able to get. And then from there, Bette Davis never liked her, and they were very combative in general on sets and just interacting with each other. And basically, they were both old. This is the 60s. These women, we don't even know when Joan was born, child. But, Bette Davis was born in 1908, in the 1900s, child. So by the 60s, they were old. And in that time, there was no place for old. There's no place for old women unless you're playing like a grandma or whatever, like a stand-in or like a corpse or something. Like they were very rude to women. And that's why you see these beautiful women's careers, like Joan Crawford and her had astounding careers. And then things slowed up because they got old, because it was very, very cutthroat at that time with the studios. You're fat, you're, not young enough, all of these things. So the roles dried up for them, even though they were still very capable of acting. And so when both of their careers had a dry spell because of that. And I think that's where things begin, right? Because this is what is pushed to the forefront. You're young, you're fresh, you're entertaining, you're pushed to the forefront almost to a point where you're like unstable because they're pushing you to the forefront so intensely. And then as soon as you get a wrinkle or a gray hair, you're pushed and thrust out of the limelight, which causes these women to go crazy. Obviously, that's why a lot of them are addicted to shit. But on top of it, it's like, this is why there's such intense competition because of that dynamic, because of what femininity is supposed to be shown as, what the ideal feminine form is supposed to be shown as, which is an entire economy onto itself. These women, all of us women, feel that thrust into the limelight and thrust into the background, even though it's not as intense as these two women obviously dealt with. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the reality of being a woman. And through that, there's an economy of like selling you things to make you younger, things to make you skinnier, things to not have your pimply face be so pimply, things to like, make glow up constantly. And this is like that part of that system because they were only showing young hot women. There were no roles for older women. So of course older women are negative because you don't even see them working. So anyway, they were both in the low point of their career. They had long-standing beef from a long time ago. And then this kind of drops into their lap where they can exploit this very long-standing, very tabloid-rich beef that had been going on for decades between the two of these women to bring star power to this movie, because Joan Crawford and Bette Davis working together, I don't even know what that would mean. They're both great actresses. They're both acclaimed, but it's like they've had such long beef. Like, I'm invested in hearing everything about what's going on set, hearing how they're interacting with each other, hearing all of this stuff. And so this movie was a big comeback moment. And these two women came together and took control of their circumstances. Yeah, they had aged out, but they were still able to prove that we as older women are still viable in Hollywood. And Bette Davis obviously was nominated. So anyway, let's talk about this movie really quick. Okay, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is a 1962 American psychological horror thriller film directed and produced by Robert Aldrich from a screenplay from Lucas Heller based on the 1960 novel of the same name by Henry Farrell. The film stars Bette Davis and Joan Crawford and features the major film debut of Victor Buono. It follows an aging former child star tormenting her paraplegic sister, a former film star, in an old Hollywood mansion. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was released in theaters in the United States on October 31st, 1962 by Warner Bros. Pictures. The film was met with critical acclaim and was a box office success. It was nominated for 5 Academy Awards and won 1 for Best Costume Design Black and White, with Davis receiving her 10th and final nomination for Best Actress. The alleged bitter Hollywood rivalry between the film's two stars, Davis and Crawford, was pivotal to the film's initial success. This in part led to the revitalization of the careers of the two stars. And years after release, critics continue to acclaim the film for its psychologically driven black comedy, camp, and creation of the psycho-biddy subgenre. The film's novel and controversial plot meant that it originally received an X rating in the UK. Because of the appeal of the film stars, Dave Ickhoff in the New York Times has identified it being a cult classic. In 2003, the character of Baby Jane Hudson was ranked number 44 on the American Film Institute's list of the 50 best films of American cinema. In 2021, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. That's where Birth of a Nation is, by the way, the 1915 version, the racist one, by the Library of Congress, as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Okay. There's a lot. There's a lot to read. But I wanted to start off with these two. Also, if you kind of want a rundown of their feud, Ryan Murphy. So the reason why I even was introduced to these people was through Drag Race, but then Ryan Murphy has another series besides American Horror Story called Feud, where he depicts famous feuds, like famous Hollywood feuds. So the first season of Feud was literally Joan Crawford and Bette Davis filming whatever happened to Baby Jane, and it was really interesting and I really enjoyed it, and that's how I got really into it. And then I started looking into both of these women and all of this stuff. They're really talented actresses, they're great. But I say all this to say, like, since the beginning of time, since it was profitable to make women insecure, like, this has happened in all of the entertainment industry. Like, these feuds, an aging star and the new up-and-comer, even just the dynamics of American Horror Story Coven, where it's like the Supreme is like weakened when the new Supreme rises. It's like one of those things where it's like it can't be multiple women winning at one time. It just can't be. And so with this, it's like I see this and I see Nicki and Lil Kim. I see this and I see Nicki and Cardi. I see this and I see Remy and Nicki. You know, I see this and I see that energy about this fear of having multiple women at the top at the same time and like building solidarity and all of that kind of stuff. So I thought it would be interesting to come in with this because it's like, ciao. Hello, let's talk about how often this happens. Like, these feuds are like very, very real. They happen all the time. In the industry. Okay. But it's like, I hope that 10 years from now, maybe 15, Nicki and Cardi can stand and look at each other like this and say, look what we did, look what we both contributed to the culture, and maybe they can like do a song just for the vibe, just for the history of it. Because the fact that these two actually did a movie is crazy, and the fact that it lives on, like, insane. Like, and they didn't even get along doing the movie, but they still worked together, which I thought was cool. Okay. Let's start off with where I met Nicki. Oh my God. I met Nicki. Where did I meet Nicki? Well, as I've said before, in the Drake-Kendrick situation, my sister was very influential in terms of my media choices, like very influential on that. So when she taught me how to torrent music, get mixtapes, all of this stuff, I was addicted to it. And I was always like contributing to my iTunes. That's why I'm an Apple Music girl. My iTunes, I can just never give up because it has so much good music. But anyway, so I downloaded the Nicki Minaj Beat Me Up Scotty mixtape, and it changed my life. I mean, I don't know what to say. Let's do a little, let's go down a trip down memory lane of early Nicki.
Little mama, you a 3-star. I ain't sleeping when I say I'm in my dream car. Oh, did I stutter? Harajuku hyphen Barbie. I'm hot. I think it's time to put the rice in. I was in the chair. I was gluing my weaving. When you hit the stage, they was booing and leaving. No more auditions. I slid away to the 5-star bitches.
Okay, so this was the start of like a crazy run of Nicki assassinating every song she ever touched, to the point where like when I was introduced to this, I was like, anytime Nicki was on a song, I had to skip to her verse immediately. What can I do off top? Oh, I mean, come on. I saw this video when it came out. Like, you guys don't know, 14 years ago, insane. Like, you guys don't know. You weren't there. Like, she looks so cute. Hood Affairs. Okay, exactly. Those jeans were everything. When we were like, is her butt real or fake? It's like, it's fake, boo. The weave. She looked gorgeous, though. She's so pretty.
Listen, I'm the baddest in the school, the baddest in the game. Excuse me, honey, but nobody's in my lane. When you was in New York, you was fucking a Yankee. I was fucking with bass, I was pitching to Frankie. These bitches so cranky. Give him a hanky. Mommy, I'm cold. Give me a blankie. I get higher than a 1-2. I could buy it by the bundle. Don't be acting like the Cardinals are gon' fumble. Cause I'm a stealer, fresh up out the dealer. We was I'm a big deal. Than a pigtail.
I think I had a rap bitch for my entree. Is that right good? Where's little Red Riding Hood? And if you see a itty bitty piggy in the market, give the bitch a quarter and a car to the pocket. I don't fuck with pigs like assalamu alaikum. I'll ask Maya Bacon. Get a bitch a quarter and a car to the pocket. Oh, it's like I single-handedly just, you know, every rap bitch in the building. Lie. I'm Nicki Minaj, Nicki Lewinsky, Nicki the Ninja, Nicki the Boys, Nicki the Erical Barbie. Like, I mean, I don't even know why you girls bother at this point. Like, give it up. It's me. I win. You lose. Oh, shit. I'm a bad bitch. 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 Okay, I still got it. I just want to shout that out. And then we'll do one more. And I'm just like, what verse? Okay. Come on. I mean, this is just obviously.
But my features and my shows 10 times your pay. 50K for a verse, no album out. Nicki on them titties with a sign it. One track minded, but really, I don't give a F-U-C-K. Forget Barbie, fuck Nicki, she's fake. She's on a diet, but my pockets eat a cheesecake. Give him whiplash.
Okay, sorry. These are just iconic Nicki verses. Now this is a Barb account. Now also, this is a biased opinion. I just want to make that clear. I'm biased. I'm Nicki, but like she's flawed and we'll talk about that. But I'm biased. We'll continue on. Nicki came in hot as fish grease. Like the feature run, everything, like you had to give her respect, especially after this came out. It was insane. Now, she started in paying homage. She paid homage to all the female rappers that came before her. I must say, one thing about Nicki is she does pay respect. But there was a beef brewing behind the scenes that a lot of people didn't realize until it came out into fruition. So we have Lil Kim. Now, Lil Kim is before my era, just so you know. Lil Kim is iconic. Lil Kim, whatever bitches think they're doing, Lil Kim been done it. She was a fashion icon. She's super sexy. She was super raunchy. She'd been done it. She was a fly-ass bitch. She's a sex queen. She's gorgeous. And she has a deep respect in hip-hop, child. Like, she really put whatever you think modern female hip-hop is at this point in time, she did it before every bitch. She was fearless in fashion, fearless, just fearless, and an icon, and she should be respected more for that. She was involved with Biggie, as most people know. And what I know of Kim, let's see, what songs? Crush on You. Oh, is that a song? Let's do Lil Kim Ladies Night. Okay. Or maybe let's do Crush on You. Let's do Lil Kim. Sorry. I know Lil Kim from Lady Marmalade. Okay, not live. Okay, first of all, this song is iconic. This song is so iconic. You don't understand a hit till, okay, let's get in the... This is how I met Lil Kim. Straight at the gate. Why spend mine when I can spend yours? And I'm sorry. Like Atari. From the Moulin Rouge. I better get that dough, sisters. Okay, iconic. But okay, that's how I know her. This is but later in her career, you know. This is my era of when I was first introduced to him. But Lil Kim, let's see. Let Lil Kim get money. Not Monette, but here's iconic Kim. Let me see. Care. She's from this era. She's very close to Biggie, his like lover. This is an iconic verse. She paved the way. Like, she did it before every bitch. And then obviously the Crush on You video, because let's just, if we're gonna pay her respect, you know, this is an icon. Have you seen any of these pictures before? Iconic. She looks so good in this video. The original. She's the original. Like, okay, see, look at her. There she is right there. Like, this is what I mean. Like, iconic status. Like, Lil Kim is amazing. She's an icon. So the trouble was brewing behind the scenes. Now, from a kid growing up at this time who was like basically groomed to be a Nicki Minaj stan, you know, at the beginning of her career, like, when from our perspective, it's like, who is this old bitch? Like, Lil Kim, you mean Lil Kim with the crazy plastic surgery? Like, that's like, Lil Kim was the it icon girl for many, many years. But by this time, her flame, her meteoric rise was coming to a fall. Biggie had died. She was just being known more for her antics. She went to jail, plastic surgery. That's all she was known for at the time that I was growing up. Like, back in my day, there were things like VH1's like 100 worst plastic surgeries, or like I Love the 80s. You remember those shows? Yeah. So I would like watch those all the time. And like they did like craziest plastic surgeries, and like Bruce Jenner, the cat lady, and obviously Lil Kim were always a part of those lists. That's what she was known for in my era. So for us, we're seeing Nicki, and I just showed you what she was coming with. Attitude, fine as hell, was out rapping men, just going crazy, like owning it, you know? Like, people were like, who is this old bitch complaining? But then when you look back into it, it's kind of like, okay. So what essentially happened is what essentially happened is Nicki made it out to seem like, at least to the public, and she played it very well publicly, mind you, was that she felt like she always gave Kim respect, and Kim just didn't like her. They had an exchange, and from then on it had been up. And, you know, she just didn't really address Kim questions in the interviews. She went from paying homage to Kim in her interviews as the originator. They're both from New York. This is why, again, it's like a real foil for the Nicki Cardi situation that happens down the line. But she went from paying homage to Kim to just not even mentioning Kim and shading Kim. She started dissing Kim, and they were dissing each other back and forth in songs, and it was just like a thing that was going on. Then people knew that they didn't like each other. It was obvious. Now, again, as a kid being groomed to be a Nicki Minaj stan, and her meteoric rise was about to like go off, I was like, who is this bitch? Like, Lil Kim, like, go get another facelift, like, to be honest. But then you go back and you listen to the interviews during that time. The Breakfast Club interview is a great example of this. I used to watch The Breakfast Club incessantly, and World Star. I was very in on that stuff. Okay, so this interview right here, I recommend people watch it. It's broken up into two parts, as you can see. There's oh no, it's not. Okay, cool. So you can watch the full thing on here. I recommend people watch this interview just because, like, this interview was so crazy. Like, when you look back at it now, Lil Kim came there in earnest to come and actually have a real conversation about the beef with Nicki because it had boiled over. Nicki had made her album, that song Stupid Hoes, about Lil Kim. You know, she was shading Lil Kim. And basically, she came on here to address it and basically was saying, hey, Slim and Baby, who are the owners of Cash Money, had been in contact with her and were like, we need to do a song. It would be a great look, blah, 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 blah. Kim was excited because, you know, her star's waning and she needs, you know, up. Apparently, as she said in this interview, she had been working on a new sound, a new vibe, and she was ready to, like, debut that. So they were like, okay, let's work together. So they lay a song with Kim and she does the song with her new sound. It was supposed to be a debut for her new sound. And then she gets hit up by Baby and Slim and they're like, hey, can we put Nicki on the song? It would be a great look. We're going to do it big. It'll be huge. Like, we're going to do it big. Kim was kind of like reluctant, but she agreed. Like, okay, put her on the song. It'll be a moment. But with the promise that, okay, this isn't just going to be a single, but we are also going to do a video. We're going to roll it out. We're going to put money behind it. Again, her star is fading. Then all of a sudden they don't respond. Now they're not texting her back. Now they're not talking to her anymore. Now they're not whatever. And then all of a sudden, Nicki Minaj pops up with the same song as Kim had, with the same title, with the same sound. It wasn't like the same lyrics, but it was very much obvious that she felt like they had used her to study her and study what she was doing and then applied that to Nicki. That's what Kim is alleging. And so in this interview, this is right when everything boils over. And she goes on the Breakfast Club. Charlamagne's at his peak disrespectful. And they're basically shading her. Like, Yura has been, like, shading her. Like, making her feel like, you know, she didn't put in the work that she put in, the stripes that she put in, rightfully so. Like, she didn't do that. And they're, like, acting like, you know, who, like, basically shading her. And you can tell that in the interview, she's, like, trying to hold her tongue and be nice. And she's explaining, but Charlamagne's egging her on. If you don't know Early Breakfast Club, go to Early Breakfast Club. I can't school you on that. Maybe there's another video in there for that. But I was very in on all of these interviews. And I remember this happening. And the only person being nice to her was Angela Yee and paying her respect. Lil Kim is a goddess. Lil Kim is a queen. No matter what she, like, her, you know, star was coming down or whatever, she put a permanent stamp on female hip hop, period. All these bitches are copying her CeeLo. She been done it a million times over and she was the first to do it. So it's cooler. And so the way they were talking to her now that Nicki was, like, next up, hella disrespectful. But that's what Kim said happened, right? So then you hear that and you're like, oh shit, is that what really happened? And, like, you know, you were groomed at the time to be like, who's this old bitch? But it's like, she was saying real points. Okay, whatever. So she fades into the background. Now, again, this is when the beef was boiling over because Nicki Minaj dropped Pink Friday. As we know, she recently dropped Pink Friday too. Nicki Minaj dropped Pink Friday, and Lil Kim was dropping a mixtape called Black Friday. Okay, see, Black Friday. This was a direct hit at Nicki. Okay, this was a direct hit. I have to skip this. Now, her wig is, she looks amazing here. Okay, honestly, listening to this, it was pretty good. Lil Kim, Nicki. Because the truth is, Nicki was copying her style, at least in the beginning, so it, to me, adds credence to Kim's story about what happened, where it's like they were studying her style, she was being groomed to be the next her type thing. Where is that picture? Where is that picture? Where is that picture? Okay, there's this, but there's a lot of instances of that. Let's see. Here, this picture. This squat, this cover, first of all, sickening. Body sickening, outfit sickening, hair sickening, makeup sickening. This cover, like made ripples, like historic cover here. So the fact that Nicki, this is the 2010s version of that, but the fact that Nicki is doing the same pose, doing the same thing, it's obvious they were grooming her to be Kim. Like it's obvious, like it's clear. And so to me, it's like, okay, I kind of believe, obviously, Lil Kim's story, whatever. So that bubbles over, that happens. But Nicki takes the lead because she's a new hot young thing. And I think that's important to remember. She's a new hot young thing. So everyone is like pushing her, gassing her. She can do no wrong. She's on this insane feature run, like period, whatever. So then Lil Kim puts out Black Friday. It's a flop. And people are like, you're over, you're bitter, go into a dark hovel where you belong. And so she does. She like kind of disappears and does her own thing, is quiet hella long. And it's great for her because, she's able to kind of recuperate and regain icon status. That will become something later, okay? So now Nicki not only has hottest verses on every song, everyone's scrambling to have her on their song because every time it says featuring Nicki Minaj, it's a hit. But on top of that, she has an amazing record. Her album is insane. And then on top of that, she can rap her ass off. And then on top of that, she just went and said, okay, bye-bye to the old former queen of hip-hop. So she was solidified now. Nicki had a great run. My favorite era of Nicki was probably this era, the pared down era. Did not care for the fried chicken wing necklace era. That was embarrassing. But this era of her, the pared down, the pink print era, I think was a really great era for her. This was an insane run, album for album. I kind of fell off when she went pop, personally, but I liked the pink print album, and that was my first year of college. So she was solidified for a very long time from this point forward. And so to me, in my years, this is early middle school to me, my first year in college is where she's like solidified. Now, things start to get wobbly during my college years because someone named Remy Ma gets out of jail. So for those who don't know, this is Remy Ma. This is what she used to look like. Actually, let's do some Remy Ma music. Let's do a little bit of a Remy Ma for all these women. Okay, Remy Ma, Conceited. So she had this hit song called Conceited, also from New York. But this song was...
A little of this protects you from a lot of that. Armor all.
Okay, also love this music video. Okay, so this is that era, the in-between Lil Kim and Nicki, like, rising meteorically. Nicki's working on her career, though, but Remy's kind of more in the forefront. We have her in Lean Back. This is where I met Remy. I didn't really know this song, but I knew Lean Back. Okay. She's really close to Fat Joe, mind you. Again, this is that in-between era, early 2000s, but like transitioning from Kim to, But the thing with Remy, that was Erica Mena. Weird. Okay, so that's Remy Ma. Now, important to note, though, Remy Ma is on a meteoric rise at this time. This is her, again, in between Kim and Nicki. But she ends up going to jail because she shoots her friend over $1,000. That's what's alleged, okay? So she's going to jail. She sits down for like 6 years, right? So, her momentum, it's kind of like Bobby Shmurda. Hot as fish grease, gets locked up immediately when he's like about to take off. And that's what happened to Remy. So she was in jail, and then all the stuff between Kim and Nicki happened, and Nicki became the big bitch. So by the time Remy gets out of jail, Nicki's the big dog type thing. Now, Remy starts her career because she has a lot of respect. She starts her career by trying to get it back by immediately going to Love and Hip Hop, which to me, brilliant move. That's the audience that would recognize her, but also you can get some viral moments and then have your name in the conversation because Love and Hip Hop was also hot as fish grease at this time. She comes back to Love and Hip Hop. She has a great story, Black Love, her and Papoose. not so much anymore. But her and Papoose held her down, and all throughout her bid, he loved her. He just wanted to remarry her, get her pregnant. Her whole story was, I'm coming back to a career. I'm getting married to Papoose, and I'm planning a wedding. She had some great viral moments in Love and Hip Hop, and that's how she kind of got back into the conversation. Then, you know, she was on Love Hip Hop for several seasons and was successful, probably highest paid because of her star power and her story. And she was very honest in that. And it was good for her, but I think she should have pulled a Cardi and left before she did. Now, then one random day when I'm in college, this drops. Now, just so you know, actually, let's do this. Shether. When this dropped, mind you, again, I'm in college, so this is when she's back, Love and Hip Hop era. I was seeing this cover art floating around social media for like hours. And like, I was late to social media. I just kind of was like scrolling past, like, what even is that? But then I saw people talking about it, and I was like, okay. So then I looked into like what this was, and it was like, oh, Shether, Remy Ma. Okay. So they were like, go to YouTube and listen to it. So I did. And yeah, now this,
and we all know that you dumb ass. You get dumb here today. Yeah, you dumb ass. You told me your ass thoughts. He said nah. That's when I
so basically this whole song, she's clowning Nicki, sending a direct shot to Nicki, which had never been done before. This is the same thing as like what Megan did to Drake. She shook the foundation so then all these niggas could jump him and like bring him back as a bloody pulp, you know, and then Kendrick could finish him. Basically, like she opened the door. Megan opened the door. Remy opened the door, because without Remy, I don't think the Cardi situation would have happened. But anyway, she's dissing Nicki in a way that Nicki had never been handled. Nicki was the top bitch, the queen bitch, could murder any nigga on a track, could do no wrong, pop queen, everything. Like goddess, like really up there. No one had any like really doubts about her, thinking about her as a person. Except for Kim at this point. Kim was the only bitter bitch, you know. She was able to be a bitter bitch because Nicki was up for years, 10 years. Then this happens. Boom, bomb. And this shakes everything. And it's a direct shot. It's a long song. And it's 6 minutes. Insane. Also, listening back to like what little we did listen to together, not that good. But anyway, people were more shook about the tea and the drama. So then Nicki kind of doesn't do anything for a couple days. And then again, similar to like how Drake was able to bow out of the Control verse and the beef with Pusha T by doing this like other like I'm too big to respond kind of attitude, like I'm doing a media tour type thing. Nicki kind of just laid it on ice for a few days, and she was on Paris Fashion Week, and she came back with no frauds. Okay, now again, quick commercial to subscribe to my Substack or whatever, because in my paid tier, because this video is definitely not going to get monetized. But anyway, this video dropped, and she made a whole video. So again, very Drake coded, very Family Matters coded, where it's like a whole production. She's like, look, bitch, you could never afford to do this music video. This is just a one-off music video for a diss track. Like, this isn't even anything to me, bitch. Like, but I have money. I have long money, and I'm higher than you. I'm better than you. I'm doing better than you. So, but I remember it dropping like this. Now, it's the fact that she had Drake and Lil Wayne also on it that also lost her respect. The fact that she didn't immediately get in the booth and respond, and the fact that she had these two niggas featured, because people were like, they're helping her, they're helping her. This song is actually a good single. Honestly, she looks gorgeous in this picture, but this drops. Then it's, you know. Okay, so that's kind of what it was. So basically, that song comes out. Remy comes out with another song that is inconsequential. Okay, it was another one. Yeah, it was called Remy Ma, another one. It was called Another One. So she doubled back with another diss. No one remembered it because She Threw was still in the air, and people just like respectfully were like, we're gonna forget that. Remy Ma went on a whole press tour. She did a song with Lil Kim around this time as kind of like another thing. She went to the Wendy Williams. Now, this was a good time for Remy. So let's do this. Remy had a song called like an album called like 6 Years, 6 Summers or 7 Summers, which was like basically alluding to like she was locked up for this time and she's back. And on the album, she had All the Way Up, which I hate. It's a song that I hate, but it was really big at the time. I don't know why. It was her and Fat Joe to kind of like get it back to that era. Do you remember this song? It's kind of annoying. No. They're like, mind you, this time they're queens of the media. They're like being invited to interviews, The Breakfast Club, Papoose and her, like she's up. She's on Love and Hip Hop. She's everywhere. Everyone's loving Remy. Everyone's wanting to talk to her about Shether. Everything, like she's like doing her thing. So she like is able to get a successful album. This song is actually a really good song, but then it just tanked from there. So then, she was like really dragging the beef, like in a way that like wasn't organic. Like we were dragging the Kendrick Drake beef, like, and not wanting to end. She was dragging it herself, and people did want it to end. So, she went on Wendy Williams. And as you can see, she's dressed in all black, and she's saying, like, I'm dressed in all black for a funeral, because she was referring to the beef with Nicki. Then she did, like, this weird thing. Nicki, what's good? She did this weird ass shit.
It's about time to reveal your best new artist.
Plus, 30 Seconds to Mars brings a heated performance of their new single.
The 2017 MTV VMAs are back with 2 minutes.
See, she said, Nicki, what's good? And it was like, okay, at this point, bitch, you're dragging it. Like, now you're in a position, but now, like, you're really using, like, this is a clout. We're trying to get clout off of the situation. And I get it. It was her moment, but it was like, Kendrick knew, like, how to properly sustain a moment. The music was sustainable enough that we were dragging the moment and continue to drag the moment now. But he hasn't said shit. He hasn't done an interview. He hasn't done media. He barely just did a music video and a concert, But that was like, so it's like this was like really corny. So this... that was her peak, dropped. She was still in Love and Hip Hop. And Nicki kind of like came out of that like scathed, but like not, like her positionality as the queen of hip hop was still solidified, whatever. Her crown was like knocked. It was kind of, this is Pusha T in this case, right? So then this is all good, well and good. But then another person starts bubbling. Now, mind you, okay. I also want to say this. This is what Nicki kind of points at as being the start of the Nicki hate train. According to her conspiracy mind, I don't know if this is true, but I kind of believe it. Behind the scenes, 4 years, because she was such a savvy businesswoman and so successful and had like the female rap game on lock, all of the other competing labels were trying to find a rap bitch to compete with her. But no one could be Nicki Minaj. That's why she was who she was, as iconic as she is forever. And so they were actually trying to seek out people to compete and publicly beef with her. And so for her, this had been going on behind the scenes that she had been privy to, so she says. So when Remy came to the plate, she was kind of like, you're a corny bitch, because I know that they've been trying to do this game. They probably gassed you. They probably did a bunch of stuff. And it did knock Nicki's crown and change how people saw her. But at the end of the day, she was like a wounded queen. And so this had been going on according to Nicki. Cupcake has come out, the rapper Cupcake has come out and said, hey, like, this is something that happened. I was offered this amount of money, or is offered a contract to beef with Nicki. That was a real thing. I say all to say, like, this moment, like, probably marks one of probably Nicki's most traumatic times in her life. You can tell she's been forever traumatized and forever changed by this moment when she was knocked from her pedestal. And it's clear in how quick to anger she is. It's clear on how possessive she is. This is when she takes that, like, role of being the bad guy. This is what starts it. So this happens. And then we have boiling under the surface, Cardi B. So I think Nicki speaks from a place of hurt a lot of the time, and that's what I see when she goes on her rants. And maybe there allegedly substances involved, maybe allegedly not, whatever. But at the end of the day, I think she is a really traumatized woman that has not, through her stubbornness, gone to actually heal from what it feels like to be like the center of attention one day and then really, really severely knocked from your pedestal and people hating you the next day. Because after this, Remy opened the floodgates and bitches were coming out and bitches were saying, oh, Nicki had blocked deals for me behind the scenes. She's not a nice girl. All of these bad kind of conversations started to come out about how Nicki is truly behind the scenes when it comes to female rappers. This conversation of Nicki only like collabs with males started to come into question, which was valid. And it started to kind of take steam. And so Nicki became the misogynistic, pick me, bad guy of female hip hop. Now, Cardi B, I met Cardi B, Instagram, let's see. She was an Instagram girl. I met her right before she blew up on Instagram. Skits 2017. So she was a stripper in New York who just like she was silly, she was crazy, she was cuckoo. This was her thing. Like she was, she had fucked up teeth. She was just crazy, kooky. She did skits. She was growing her following as like just a funny skit person. This is a time in Instagram where like King Bash and like all of those like Desi and all these people start to really solidify like the skit game when Instagram turned to like being able to have video. So she was like a part of that first wave of Instagram skits and like being silly and being crazy and being kooky. Like, let's see, Cardi B Instagram, a hoe never gets cold. Let's see. This is like what she was known for. See?
It's cold outside, but I'm still looking like a thotty because a hoe never gets cold. It's cold outside,
See?
but I'm still looking like a
So this was her personality. She was a stripper from New York, bold, brash, just like opinionated, just that bitch. You know what I mean? That was Cardi. And so she was growing a following. I had met her when she was like hit 1 million followers, but when she hit 1 million, that is when she was offered Love and Hip Hop for the first time. Now, mind you, I love reality TV, so I'm very familiar with this season of Love and Hip Hop, especially because I watched specifically to see Cardi, because I had met her on Instagram through her skits right before she blew up. So I literally watched her, like her trajectory. So within the span of 2 years, her life changed completely. So Love and Hip Hop, Cardi B. Cardi. Yes. Okay. Let's see. So Cardi B was like, she got on this shit. See.
My name is Cardi B. You might know me as that annoying dancer on social media that be talking hella crazy. Long nails and the big old titties. Ever since my Instagram got deleted, I see the true value of life. Love, family, and friends. Say! Oh, yeah! Whoever got my Instagram deleted, but I'm just a regular schmegular girl from the Bronx.
This was a meme.
All around America, hosting all around America. And my goal is to make that money and turn everything.
Okay, so that's how she was. She was like humble girl. She had fucked up teeth. She was a stripper. She was ratchet. She had a personality on her. She got on this show and did what you're supposed to do with the opportunity. Because from here, she had an instant iconic moment. So she basically, her a little bit of her storyline. This is DJ Self, the biggest loser in history. Basically, Cardi was at Love and Hip Hop to document her journey of switching from being this Instagram girl, this stripper girl, and moving into the music space. And DJ Self was supposed to help her with that. He was her manager, helping her on the road because she had bookings, because she was booked and busy because she was an Instagram girl. And so he basically was helping her with the music thing and also sleeping with her. And that created obviously weird dynamics. On top of that, he belittled her, didn't think she could actually do it. And then as soon as she left him, she went to the stratosphere. So that says a lot. But basically, that's DJ Self. And they were having sex. And basically, she goes to this party and beats up the girl that he brings because he doesn't think she's going to be there. And then there's this scene in... So, yes, this is a fight. Hold on. And then she goes to, okay, see, commercial for Love and Hip Hop, and she went again to the stratosphere. Her personality, everyone was excited about the season. Everyone tuned in because of this scene. This became a meme. She made a song from this meme. Now, this is what I mean. I was there. There was Gangster Bitch Volume 1. First of all, hold on. There's Cheap Ass Weave. This is the song that she was trying to promote in this first season. Like, she was venturing into being an artist, and this was that song. Why did that annoy me? Okay. This was her first song. Now she was doing it like the comedy style. This was her first like thing, and this was a song she was trying to promote on Love and Hip Hop as, hey, I'm an artist now, kind of thing. When you go on these reality TV shows, you have to have things set up correctly. This was her and DJ Self producing this so that she can have the excuse of saying, I'm venturing into music. Shitty song, obviously, but this is where she started. Then she got that viral meme of a girl have beef with me forever type thing. So then Gangster Bitch Volume 1 and Gangster Bitch Volume 2 came out. Gangster Bitch Volume 1 had the song Forever. And this is when I was like, okay, she's getting better. As you can see, World Star hip hop exclusive. World Star was still, popping at this time. It's kind of crazy that that's where it would debuted. Okay. Ugh. So see, it's higher budget, a better song, a more catchy. Okay, so that was the song where I was like, okay, maybe she could kind of rap a little bit. Gangster Bitch Volume 1, I did have downloaded for sure. Gangster Bitch Volume 2, though, is where she went to the stratosphere because that had Bodak Yellow. And if you don't know what Bodak Yellow is, I don't know what to tell you, like, honestly. And this is a song that took her to the stratosphere. Mind you, I was there before she was even on Love and Hip Hop. So I was before that. So I had seen her star rising from then type thing. And people have been there before me. If you wanted to. Now that I'm re-listening to it, it's just like not that good compared to what I was listening to with Nicki. Like, obviously it's a time, it's a moment, and like I have like real connection with Nicki because I grew up with Nicki. But it's like comparing Itty Bitty Piggy to this, it's like, come on now. No, you can't even. But anyway, so this song came out and it went viral. Now, mind you, Nicki's over here like, this bitch is a clone. This bitch is trying to be me. This is Atlantic's way of trying to get me because after this, she got an Atlantic deal. And it was a big one. And she was like, to the stratosphere. This song was so viral during this time. Like, everyone loved the song. Everyone was singing it. Everybody, like, Kevin Hart was doing, like, dances to it. Like, it was viral. And so Nicki's over here like, this bitch can't even rap. she can barely rap. People are writing her raps. This is a clone. They're trying to replace me. And the conspiratorial things that started with the Remy shit start to come back. Like, but this time it had some bite back because Cardi was already popular. She had already gone to 1 million Instagram followers. You know what I mean? By herself from her personality. Then she was on TV. Now she has a hit song and it's like racing up the charts. Like, this is crazy. Plus her personality, like, interviews, all of this stuff. She was on Cocktails with Chloe, which was big at this time. There's she kept going viral for her just tidbits, like, so silly. Like, you know how she was during the pandemic. Like, that was how it was times 1,000,000 because we hadn't even seen this bitch before for a lot of us. And so when this song came, it was like, whatever. But it was fueling Nicki's paranoia. So Nicki never liked Cardi because Cardi already had all of this smut with her type thing in terms of she's being triggered by the Remy Ma beef, the conspiracies. They're trying to take me down. The labels are trying to take me down. And now this bitch has a hit. Mind you, she travels with this hit for a while she's cooking up the, what's it called? Invasion of Privacy, which is her first album and only. Yikes. Okay. So Cardi, Remy, perform live. Okay. So Cardi is accepted by Remy Ma because she's like New York, she's this, she's that. And so during this is a loser behavior, but this is Remy Ma brings out Lil Kim, Queen Latifah, Cardi B in response to Nicki Minaj. So basically, Remy Ma goes on this hot, I think this is Summer Jam or something, some New York festival or whatever. And she goes on stage. She's waning, but people are still like, it's fresh because this beef with Nicki was also when Cardi started to like go up. So basically, she goes on stage. She's summer jamming. She has her song all the way up. She has her song. She invites all these different women that have beef with Nicki on stage. And basically, they do like disrespectful shit. They have a whole eulogy. She has Lil Kim on there. She has all these people on there that have had previous beef with Nicki. Again, another example of how not to handle beef. Like, you drag it. You have to leave while you're ahead and let the people miss you and then come back with something like, let me refocus. You know what I mean? Let me show you why you need to like respect me and support me type thing. But she kept going with the Nicki narrative and it was like, give it up. You won with Shether, but you did not win the war. You won the battle. You did not win the war. It's very much that. They had a whole eulogy. Let me see. Remy Ma, Nicki Minaj eulogy. They had a whole eulogy on stage for Nicki. Where is it? See, they had her picture up. They had a whole eulogy, a celebration of life. See? Okay. So you see, so she was dragging it pretty much is what I'm saying. And she was taking her 15 minutes and she drug it out to about an hour, but it never came back. And Nicki was always still queen. But she brought Cardi on that stage and basically took Cardi under her wing. According to like Cardi and like just the back and forth that ends up happening, what we can assume as behind the scenes things are happening between Nicki and Cardi that are low key that haven't been broken to the public yet. Okay, so Cardi's up. Nicki's paranoid. All of this stuff is happening. Cardi makes this move and now it's kind of like, okay, like most people can kind of be like, okay, like this is, you know, you're new to music, you're being respected, you have your big song, you're just performing wherever you want. So like this is like novice shit type thing. But this was I think when Nicki was like, oh, I can never trust this bitch type thing. So this happens. Now, mind you, all while this is happening, Cardi's working on her album, Invasion of Privacy, which we all know. Let's see. We all know, I mean, her album went quadruple diamond 1,000, like Invasion of Privacy. her album went crazy. Like, this album came out and it was like hotter than anything. It had a song for everyone. It was a hit. Every song was like a hit. And this year after this album dropped was insane. She won Grammys. She hosted SNL. She was pregnant. She was proposed to. All of this stuff happened. She kept being in the news. Her and Offset, her and her career, her and her songs, her performances. She was mainstream, commercials everywhere. Like, this is when this bitch was really that bitch. And so basically it was a meteoric rise, feeding into Nicki Minaj being like, the machines. She doesn't even write her own songs. Like, this is something that's happening, and I write my own songs. So the beef is brewing behind the scenes. We know this, like, it's happening. It's giving Lil Kim. It's giving Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, obviously. But anyway, this is going on. So then enter in state of the culture. It's so funny to be at the cusp of all of these things being mainstream. Before, like, things like state of the culture in this kind of era of hip-hop media was not really online. It was not really podcast-based. It was like 106 in Park, VH1, MTV Jams-based, like MTV News-based type thing. State of the Culture was a complex show that had Joe Budden and academics on it wait, is that even the song? No, that's not it. Not State of Culture. Complex. Joe Budden. Okay, what was this? Okay, Everyday Struggle. Sorry. Everyday Struggle was the show that I'm talking about. Everyday Struggle was a show that was like on Complex, on their YouTube channel, and it was like every day they go on, they talk about what's going on in hip hop, they'd review albums, that kind of thing, whatever. And Joe was like the old head, bitter from the music industry. This is where he's like sharpening the tools to really become his persona. Mind you, memeable, everything. Joe has been like an online icon for a long time for those who have noticed. This is where I'm introduced to him, but I know he has deep internet lore. Like, first meme, doing vlogs, all that kind of stuff. State of the Culture is when he really gets thrust into this media space. He is a retired rapper. He was never really that successful. He had the song Pump It Up, which is a great song, and that's basically it. So he's like a bitter old head, and then you have academics, who's obviously a weird cuck Twitch streamer, annoying incel, and he has like they have different opinions of hip hop. The greatest person to act is Drake. Joe has beef with Drake publicly. Like, it's competitive. And then they have a woman, Nadeska, in the middle, and that's kind of the show. And they talk about different stuff. And they basically argue back and forth. The reason why I got introduced to Joe and then subsequently the Joe Budden podcast, as you know, I've been obsessed with the Joe Budden podcast because I talked about it all throughout the fucking last hip hop video I did, where I was talking about the Kendrick and Drake beef. But this is where I was introduced to Joe and his opinions, his whatever, all of that stuff. And he was first to really discuss openly this thing that we were feeling. It was similar to early Nicki and Lil Kim vibes. You know what I mean? Where it was kind of like, there's a tension. They're not talking about each other in interviews. When asked, they kind of shade each other. And Joe picked up on it instantly. And he was just kind of like, this is what's going on. You know, he was just kind of like, this is the tea. This is what's happening. This is the tea. And so basically, Joe, with his background knowledge in the music industry, was very much like, they don't like each other. These women don't like each other. I'm calling it. And just like he had called, the beef started to explode. So they started to beef with each other. It all started. So people say Joe instigated the beef, really, is what they're saying. But really, he was reading the tea leaves because he understood, like, this doesn't make sense. This would be a good look for both of them. All of this stuff. And he basically called it. Then Motorsport happened. Now, Motorsport is a song with Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and the Mingos. Mind you, Cardi B is engaged to Offset at this point. This makes sense. And everyone's excited for this song because it's going to put the rumors to rest. Like, these girls aren't actually beefing. People are just being dramatic. They want to cause tension. And actually, they're about to do the song together, be in a music video together, and it's going to be a look, right? Okay, cool. Well, except for when the actual video drops and the single drops, and Nicki and Cardi are in no scenes together. So Joe goes on to Everyday Struggle after that and is basically like, they're beefed out. And everyone's like, you're being dramatic, but he's like, they're beefed out. Then the rumor mill starts happening because it's like, why wouldn't they take this moment? It would have been one day of shooting. They couldn't coordinate their days and just have a moment. So then things start happening on social media. People start accusing people of being mean people because Nicki now has this reputation from the beef with Remy Ma. And so it's this ongoing thing where Nicki kind of comes out and is like, no, like the reason why we couldn't film together is because we share the same stylist and there's a scheduling conflict. He couldn't do my hair on this day and blah, blah, blah. So that's what she puts out publicly, and people kind of take it or leave it, whatever. And basically, due to Joe's kind of nagging, it's kind of gone under the radar as like, that's the PR reason, but that's not the official reason. Then Nicki goes on to this podcast. I forgot. I forgot what it was. This podcast episode, Beats One. And she looks gorgeous, but she goes on and basically has a full discussion discussing the whole drama. And she basically was like, I'm really hurt. You know, when I came into game, I paid respect to all the women that came before me. And it's like, everyone's kind of like silently like, okay, girl, but we're like 2 for 2. You fucked with Lil Kim. You had a bad attitude. That's what Kim said. Remy Ma validated these claims again. Then a lot of people came out after Shether and validated that you're a mean girl behind the scenes. Then this, like, I don't know. And so this is where the hate train was really strong. She goes on, she's basically like, you know, I wasn't lying. I have all these texts to prove it. This is what happened. I basically wrote my verse to this song. I wanted to do a song with the Migos. I wanted to do a song with Quavo. They gave me Motorsport. I wrote a verse. Then they came to her and was like, hey, can Cardi B be on it? It would be a good look. She said, okay, but it was a reluctant okay, much like Lil Kim. And she said, okay, it'll be a look, whatever. Cardi B does her verse. Nicki does her verse. Nicki's verse gets added. Cardi B doesn't like it. Cardi B doesn't like it because she feels like Nicki is little girling her in the verse and basically being like, if I'm the whatever, you're this type thing, which knowing Nicki, she was shading her. You know that. Nicki has a bad attitude. We know this. So it's like, yeah, it was probably meant disrespectfully. But Nicki's playing innocent on this interview like, and I just don't get why she would do this because, and she starts to literally cry. And she's like, I paid respect to the women that like helped me up, like Trina and all these other women that put me on their songs. And, you know, most people would be grateful. Like, I'm the queen. I'm high at my career. You're just starting and I'm doing a song with you. This is a big look and you just really disrespectful and like you whatever. So basically there's back and forth behind the scenes about like Cardi being like, I'm not doing this unless she changes her verse. Nicki changes her verse, whatever. But there's bad blood already type thing. So then Nicki then says, yeah, and then there was a conflict with my hairstylist. He was actually doing her hair, which was a shade because she's kind of like, this girl is taking the people that are close to me kind of thing. And Nicki was like, yeah. And like, I basically texted Tokyo, who was doing my hair, and said, hey, they're going to make a villainous rumor about me because we're not able to film together because of your conflict, and they're going to make it out to seem like it's me. And she's like, no one supported me. No one came out and defended me. Like, I asked Quavo to come and defend me and like cooperate my story. And he basically was like, well, we're not dating, so I'm not going to do that. And basically left her out to dry as being the bad guy villain that everyone blamed. And so she was emotional in this. And she basically was like, I don't understand why she's not humble and like paying homage to me. But I also felt really disrespected by how the Migos and everyone put me out. And like, she just didn't seem appreciative that I was doing this for her. And so boom, that interview comes out. Then Cardi does another interview. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but it was a similar time frame where she does an interview with Ebro, and basically it's like, we spoke behind the scenes, like everything's cool. And then, whatever. There's a picture of them at the Met Gala, and it was like, people are like, okay, maybe it's whatever. This goes on. Then we have the Fashion Week, Harper's Bazaar Fashion Week. Hold on. Fashion Week, Cardi. Okay, there's an iconic picture. This video. Hold on, let me see.
The moment she transitioned, she was a star. Finding this dance studio was like this.
Okay, this is freshly after the fight, mind you. She looks amazing. This is after the fight. She looks amazing. Sickening. Yeah, okay. So basically what goes down is that they're at Fashion Week. Everything boils over. Mind you, everyday struggle's still going on. Joe is negging this shit. After Motorsport, he had like meat to talk about for days. Basically, he goes in, discusses, and is like egging this beef, and more people are like, yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, they are beefing clearly, like da 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 da. Nicki does an interview, and Joe's kind of like, don't believe you, this is a cleanup, da 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 da. Then it all boils over this day. Mind you, I get on social media and I see Cardi B with a knot on her head. Images. This picture goes viral. And then it's like, okay, what happened? And then video and audio came out, and then there's different accounts of this coming out. All of this stuff of basically there was a scuffle. Essentially, Cardi B claims that Nicki Minaj liked a message or a tweet that was disrespectful to Cardi B's new daughter Culture. And she confronted her at this party because she knew they would all be there. And basically that's what happened. She got the knot from fighting Nicki Minaj's friend Ra Ali at the time, who was also weirdly really good friends with Remy Ma at a point. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. She fell out. Ra Ali is a pass around industry thought bit. That's really disrespectful. Ra Ali is like a hanger on, okay, groupie type bitch. And so she was in Ice Loves Coco. If you are real reality TV, we're locked in. So anyway, she got the knot from fighting Raleigh, which is her. And basically this whole thing explodes. Everyone's like, she's so new. She just did this, da 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 da. Like, she won't be invited anywhere. Nicki Minaj is in her Queen era at this point. Queen era is kind of a flop era for Nicki. Honestly, going back to that album, it's actually really good, to be honest, compared to what the bitches are, delivering these days. But this was a really good album, but she was really hated at this time. Like, height of the hate train. Cardi B was beloved. Cardi B's star was rising as hers was fading. And so it was just kind of like, you're annoying, you're bitter, you're known as a mean girl behind the scenes by several people. Like, people are less likely to like favor you type thing. So Queen album's happening. She's doing Queen Radio whenever she wants with Apple Music, and she goes on Queen Radio and explains her side. She basically says, like, I didn't like any tweets, I was never disrespectful, but like, you're a psycho bitch, like, you threw bottles and had these girls strippers beat up, you did this, you did that. She was clowning her. It was iconic. It was an iconic radio show. Beef boils over. Joe gets to say I told you show. From that, he's able to build his Joe Budden podcast network and career from there. And he's like hyper successful from this point on in terms of media and hip hop media and conversations about it. Cardi is basically ascension, and people are kind of like, Nicki, this is a nail in the coffin, you're coked out, you're going crazy. This is the start of like her coke rants. People are kind of less into her. Mind you, at this time, Nicki also has questionable things going on. Like, she supported her brother who was convicted of like molesting a 12-year-old. Then like, she starts doing, she does the Queen era, she falls back. It's also debuts at number 2, which is still good. It sold 250,000 copies, but she goes on another rant against Travis Scott because he was doing bundle deals where it's like, okay, if you buy the sweater and a ticket to my show, we'll throw in a CD, and those counted towards his sales, so he beat her. But Nicki has always felt like the system has worked against her and penalized her for being a strong business savvy woman. And so not only were the labels in, concert trying to get someone to dethrone her, but they were also shading her and playing billboard games because everything's rigged, obviously. And so she felt like especially slighted. She went on another rant and people were like, she's coked out, she's delusional. And I think that Travis Scott rant really landed her in this, like, you're just a delusional, bitter old bitch with a mean attitude and nobody likes you. Plus, this weird proclivity to spend time and be around sex offenders, whatever. That goes down, whatever. Then, again, Cardi stars on the rise. Cardi, Invasion of Privacy is the only album this bitch has come out with. She's done singles, we know this, but she was wildly successful. She had 2 kids during COVID. She went viral. Her personality has basically been able to land her somewhere, soft, right? She's married to Offset off and on. There's drama with her love life. We know this. She had her court cases with Tasha K and the court cases for the stripper beat up and all this stuff that Nicki exposed. And Nicki kind of fell to the wayside and just didn't release music for hella long. And that's just kind of what happened. And basically after that, Nicki comes back with re-releasing Beam Me Up Scotty. Now, Beam Me Up Scotty, like I said, was one of my first mixtapes. It's an iconic mixtape if you don't know. This is a re-release cover, but this is the iconic cover. And basically she released this during COVID and I think this was one of her smartest moves where it's like, okay, let me get my feet wet, getting back relevant. I fell back. She had a baby. She married a sex offender, which was problematic. And, whatever. But she was like, let me come back, but remind these hoes who the fuck I am. This is the blueprint. So she came back with Beam Me at Scotty, remastered. She added a couple songs. People were buying that shit like crazy. And she kind of was like, yeah, and I didn't even try. This is a re-release of a 15-year-old mixtape and you bitches can't even keep up. So it was like solidifying. Mind you, Cardi B has only dropped singles, not another project. Again, another thing that pisses me off about Nicki, her emotions. It's like, you're a queen. You are the queen. Undisputed, solidified, stamped. Like, let this girl earn her stripes. And if she really can challenge you, let her challenge you. But don't make it easy. And she did make it easy. Comparing Cardi to Nicki is like a not real conversation because how can you compare these two women at 2 separate stages in their career? Nicki Minaj has almost 20 years in, stamped, solidified, iconic moments throughout those 20 years. Cardi B has 1 album. And it's like, I knew that they weren't in the same concert. They weren't in the same conversation, but Nicki stooped down, responded, and got into the mess that it was like, okay, now you're just being a messy old bitter bitch. And I can't even defend you publicly for what you act like and what you do. But it's like, had she waited and just come back out with this, never said anything after Queen, never did any rants, never was bitter, whatever, then this would have said enough. It would have spoke volumes. Because Cardi was never going to keep up the music thing. It was a lick to her. It was the next phase of her career. She's on Love and Hip Hop. It makes sense to try and crack into the music industry just for storyline in general. So anyway, it was like, you guys aren't even in the same conversation, and I hate that people continue to compare these women. Whatever. She re-releases this. It goes really well. She has Fractions, which I love, and then she has Seeing Green with Lil Wayne and Drake, which people loved, the nostalgic people loved. And she kind of was like, I was really dealing with writer's block. I was being a mom. I was figuring it out, but now I'm ready. And she basically started on her preparing for Pink Friday 2 album after this and whatever. Mind you, Cardi is crashing out publicly, super insecure, continues to get intense plastic surgery, is like very obviously can't handle fame in the same way. Like, they don't make the stars, like, this was a final class of like professional artist, where it's like you were A&R'd, you were developed, you were media trained, you knew how to get in an interview and be coherent. Like Cardi B's spectacle was she was like a girl from around the way, but you can even now her interview game is terrible. And it's like go to any one of like Nicki's Ellen interviews, it's like she's witty, she's silly, she interacts with the audience, she's humble, she's great. They didn't do that anymore. They're just kind of like, well, you're Instagram famous, so people like you already. Proof of concept. Be ratchet to be crazy. You can tell that with Cardi B. Cardi B was the first for that. And so basically, Cardi B had been spending all of this time that Nicki had been away, like not doing singles, getting in the media for different reasons. She was sued. She sued Tasha K. She was going through a divorce, then not. Offset was cheating on her. She kept having kids by him. Like all of these things kept throwing dirt on her name, but it was never us talking about Cardi B in music, Cardi B in any new album. It was never that. And people started to get tired. And so Nicki came at the right time to kind of bring people back and be like, I'm the blueprint. Then Pink Friday 2 comes out. And mind you, they have rap beef, they have Twitter beef all throughout. And the entire rap game is split because of these two women beefing. That's how powerful the beef is and longstanding. We have Megan on Cardi's side, all these people on Cardi's side, Lotto, Glorilla, and then you have the Nicki girls, and then you have the girls in between. You have the Sexy Red, the JTs, Doja, maybe, these girls that kind of picked a side and stayed there because they know if they switch up, Nicki's gonna get mad. Nicki's gonna get spiteful. You have the Ice Spices and stuff. And so they basically split the industry with their beef, and it still is an ongoing, very real beef. They'll engage with each other. They'll shade each other as much as possible, whatever. But again, like I said, Nicki Minaj should have never engaged because Cardi B was going to not take this seriously because she never took hip hop seriously. Nicki is good at that because she actually has respect for the craft and works on her pen. Cardi B has writers and it's just different. And so whatever. This goes down. Pink Friday happens. Pink Friday 2 is announced. Pink Friday happens. Mind you, Cardi B has been about to drop an album for the past 2.5 years, I would say solidly. And it never fucking comes because she's scared. And it comes off like, okay, you came in at a very specific time where Atlantic was excited about you. You were hot as fish grease. Was there some conniving, buying of streams, buying of album sales and all of this behind the scenes with Atlantic? And that's why you shot to the top. Like, can you actually shoot to the top organically? And I think that's why she hasn't come out yet, because she's too scared to prove the haters right, in the sense that, if she comes out and it doesn't stick, now it's like, oh, the machines helped you. Now that they're fed up waiting 6 years for you to drop something after giving you an advance, they're just like pushing it out at this point, hoping to recoup on all the stuff they shelled out on you. They don't give a fuck anymore about doing the extras to get your shit to the top. So will it flop? Are you actually a good artist? And this is where, again, Nicki's conspiracy mind comes to play. So basically, Nicki announces Pink Friday 2 because, again, this is an iconic move. Going back to Beam Me Up Scotty, then calling back to her first album, which was like shook the table. And Pink Friday 2 is a solid album. I must say it is good. I really did enjoy it. And so Nicki's 2023-2024 was really amazing, but Nicki kept changing the date, and word on the curb was she was trying to change the date to drop on the same day as Cardi B to prove another point, with a very 50 Cent versus Kanye point type thing. And Cardi B kept chickening out of and kept changing her date, and Nicki Minaj basically was like, I can't keep changing my date for the Barb, so I'm dropping it. Sold, went #1, has been touring all year off of it, doing amazing, great press release, looks good, is a mother, doing her thing, and very much in control, very much Jameersy, very cutesy, very mindful. It's giving that. And so we see, now we're in present day at this point, and it's like we see this like very illustrious career full of ups and downs, but triumphs for Nicki. And you see this career of somebody that's kind of like coasting on personality, and you see where that takes you 6 years off after the beef, 6 years down the line. Nicki is still respected for her pen. Nicki Minaj is still as relevant as the next bitch. She still runs female hip hop to this day. And Cardi is the next best thing, but she's miles below Nicki, considering her fear, her anxieties, her nervousness. Like, you can't compare these two in conversation. And I think that, you know, this part's for Cardi B specifically. Cardi B needs to either give up music completely and just say she retires, or drop the album and pull a JT and get back to her roots, pay for some sort of local domestic tour, venue tour, and get your rocks up and start like really cracking off your new music and promoting it. I think that Cardi went too commercial too fast, and the music was really just a lick for her, but she actually got real rap fans who really wanted to work with her and really like cared about her music side and not her influencer side. So she has to come back and at least give them a sophomore album. But she's so insecure and scared that it's going to flop that it's keeping her from just dropping it. The music should have been dropped. That's what people are saying. It should have been like last spring, but here we are crossing into year 7. No second album from Cardi. How can I wrap this up? This was kind of a long rambly video, but what I will say is, I wish that it wasn't so profitable to pit women against each other, because these two together would have eaten it up. They would have been hilarious. It would have been great. They could have done so many amazing songs and collaborations and all of these things. But at the end of the day, I get it. I get why it didn't happen. And I do believe there are machines at play, and I do believe that Cardi B is scared to pop out with a new album because she doesn't have the same backing she did the first time, which again lends credence to what Nicki was saying about a vested interest in sabotaging her. That's what I'll say. I will also say again, this is not supposed to be objective. This is biased, very much biased. I'm not a Barb by any means. I'm too grown to stand another grown person that I don't know. But I lean Nicki because I grew up with Nicki, and she actually has respect for the pen. Cardi has hits. Again, it's giving very Kendrick Drake, where it's just kind of like, you're an entertainer, she's a rapper, she's an MC, and she has respect for it, and they're just different and should not be held in the same conversation. And I think Nicki was tired of being held in the same conversation. I hope in like 10, 15 years, they pull a Joan Crawford, Bette Davis, whatever happened to Baby Jane thing, and like act together, or like do a song together, or like make amends, or do a podcast together, or some kind of media together. I would love that. I would hope for that, but I don't think, because Nicki Minaj looks like she holds grudges. I'm sure I missed some things, but that was just me compelled to speak. I hope you enjoy the podcast. I hope you enjoy the video. Again, link in the bio. Donate to Baby Judy. Donate to the humanitarian link that I have in the bio. Follow me on all my socials. Follow me on my Substack. And without further ado, Black Lives Matter, free Palestine until it's backwards, boo. Goodbye. Mwah.